Happy Friday, 5th graders. Let's review all of our word work and learn some new stuff today. And you have a quiz in your Google form. So let's look at all of the idioms we learned. In this or somebody's neck of the woods means you're in a particular area or part of a country. If you lay it on thick, this means to exaggerate, to over-embellish, to try to persuade someone that something is better, bigger, or more important than it really is. If you make a mountain out of a molehill, this means to make a big deal out of something, to make a fuss. It's conveying something in a different way by overemphasizing it. To take something with a grain of salt means to understand that something is not completely true or right, to not take something too seriously, or to accept something with reservations. So, to head or go south means, so let's say in a situation, if a situation or goes south, this means it doesn't literally mean to go or ahead, an actual body part, south. Here, literally, this arrow is pointing to the southern part of the United States. So if a situation or an organization goes south, it becomes very bad, although it was once very good. So sometimes in an exaggerated situation, things can go south or head south quite quickly. And the definition also has D, the prefix D that we've been learning, and the word we learned yesterday or thought about yesterday in the word work, to decline or to deteriorate. So that means to go down. If a situation is deteriorating, it's going downward, it's getting worse. To decline means when a situation goes down. Okay, and generally, it's when a situation goes from good to worse, or good to bad to worse. So, sentence, my project was going well, but I got behind on my work, and now it's all going south. So if something is going south, it's getting worse. We could say, if people don't wear masks and wash their hands and keep distance, the pandemic could go south. It already has. There was a second wave, third wave. So hopefully we're in a better situation. But this is what this means. So when something goes south, it's getting worse. Okay? Now, we have learned the prefix D, which means down, away, from, reverse. To decrease is when something becomes less or goes down to a lower level, or to make something go down to a lower level. To deduct means to take away an amount or part from a total, to subtract. To descend means to move from a higher level to a lower level, right? It is the opposite of ascending or ascend. To debunk means to show that an idea or belief is false. Today we have the word dehydrated. Dehydrated. So after exercising for an hour, I was dehydrated and had to drink a ton of water. So if you are hydrated, this means you've had lots of water in you. Okay, so then if you're dehydrated, that means you are away from being hydrated, or your levels are low, they're down. So it means to remove the liquid from a substance such as a food or a chemical, or to lose too much water from your body. So sometimes when it's hot, we get dehydrated, we have to drink more water. If we've been exercising lots, we have to make sure to stay hydrated so that we don't become dehydrated. Sometimes when someone's feeling ill, they're dehydrated, they have to drink more water or some Gatorade, something with electrolytes in it. So this is a great prefix, 5th graders. It's very common. You might have a word like, let's say, to decontaminate. Decontaminate, what could that mean? So if we have to decontaminate the classrooms in between groups, then that means we have to remove the contamination. We have to clean things. right? We can have a deficit. If we have a deficit of something, that means we have a shortage. So if there's a deficit of books, we're short on books, we have to get more. Or let's say you see a word like, oh, maybe you know someone who drinks decaffeinated coffee. You could say, my grandma drinks decaffeinated coffee because she can't have too much caffeine. It makes her heart beat fast. So what does decaffeinated coffee mean? It means it doesn't have caffeine. It is removed. It's reversed. So there are tons of words that have D in it, and that might not be an exaggeration. So you're going to encounter lots of D words, and you'll know that these words have something to do with down, away, from, or reverse. Great. So we were working on the Latin root frail, fract, frag, which means to break. Fraction, a very small amount of something, a part of a whole number. A fracture is a bone or a hard substance that fractures, meaning it breaks. Or if a group or country is fractured, it's broken, right? It's a divided group. A fragment is a noun, and it's a small piece of something that has broken off or that comes from something larger. And if something is fragmented, if a group is fragmented, a country is fragmented, a society is fragmented, this means they consist of several parts, or disorganized, disunified. So there's a brokenness. Today we have the word fragile. You've probably seen this word, fragile. If something's fragile, it's easily broken or damaged. Sometimes you see it on a box. Maybe an Amazon package arrives, it has something fragile in it. It'll have a big sticker on it that says fragile, so that the person delivering it, or when you're receiving it, you know it's fragile and you just don't toss it, or you handle it very carefully. Here's a vase, right? A glass vase or something made of glass is fragile. We can't just toss it or throw it on the ground. So be very careful with that vase. It's very fragile. Don't let it break. So we can have things that are fragile. Sometimes we can say that people are fragile. So maybe if somebody is on the sensitive side, or maybe they're dealing with a difficult time, you could say, well, they're in a fragile situation right now. Or you could say, oh, that person's a bit fragile, so be careful what the kinds of words you use, because they're a bit on the sensitive side. Okay, so if you encounter a word that has frail, fract, or frag, you know it's going to have something to do with broken or break. So like if I say, oh, my grandma is frail, and my grandma is frail because she has cancer, let's say. So that means she is feeling on the weak side, okay? Or let's say if you encounter a word like an infraction. So for example, in soccer, if somebody commits an infraction, there's a little flag flown, right? The yellow flag. So then this means an infraction means somebody broke the rule. Break, infraction. Okay, fifth graders, so if you encounter that, you'll know it has something to do with break. If you see any of these roots, frail, fract, frag, don't forget we've been working on antonyms that show the opposite meaning. You've done a good job with those. And recall that a hyperbole is an exaggeration. Hyperbole. Excellent work, fifth graders, this week, and hope you have a wonderful weekend.